My name is Joy Earle. I was 17 years old, the place Brisbane, Australia. The date September 3rd, 1939, when Australia joined with Britain and France and declared war on Germany after the German invasion of Poland on September 1st. It was the beginning of World War II. Our newspapers, radio announcements, and commentators, both European and Australian, had been painting dismal pictures of the conditions in Europe. The actions and ambitions of Hitler and his supporters were widely published. Hence, we had been expecting war for many months, but to face the cold, hard truth was a shock. We had strict food rationing, clothing, oil and gas rationing as well. Ration books were issued to all civilians. Whatever supplies we had were first used for the troops and for the European theatre of war. Things were looking very grim for us in Australia with the possible prospect of a Japanese invasion. There was talk of dividing Australia in the middle if the Japanese invaded. It was called the Brisbane Line. We would fight from the southern half of Australia. Brisbane was my hometown, so that meant that we would have to leave our home, friends, and all the things we loved. In 1940, I left high school and was accepted in nursing school at the Brisbane General Hospital. I received 16 shillings a week salary, then about $2 American, and had free room and board at the hospital. We had to work in the wards as well as attend classes. It was hard work. My parents were concerned that all I did was work, study, and sleep. They felt I would be better working for some other kind of war effort. I could pick up on my final 2 years of nursing training after the war was over. So to please them, in 1942, I changed careers. I did what they suggested. I left nursing school and went to work for the Main Roads Commission. It was considered a position that would be helping the war effort. Because he had had little nursing experience, I was put in charge of medical and food supplies for our air raid shelters. I organized a crew to help. We took classes in first aid and seriously thought about our responsibilities. Fortunately, our services were never required. Now for the social life of a young lady in the state of Queensland. There was no lack of male companionship. At one point, there were more American personnel in the state of Queensland than the total civilian population of the state. If I did not have a different date for every night of the week, I really thought there was something wrong. I did volunteer work one night a week at a USO-type center called a Riverview. At first, I worked in the kitchen, but then decided that the girls on the dance floor were having much more fun, so I switched to that. There was a lot of exposure to men of all nations, but the Americans were there in greater numbers by far. All of the Australian men were already overseas fighting. I vowed and declared that I would never marry an American. The Australians considered them overdressed, overfed, oversexed, and overhere. However, there was one very persistent American who finally managed 2 dates a week and then 3. In October 1944, we parted because I thought it was getting too serious. I did not want to leave my beloved family, friends, and country. However, then we met again in January. We were engaged in April and married in June of 1945. Australia was one of the luckier countries during World War II. Thanks to the American and worldwide help, we were saved from Japanese invasion. However, Australia suffered a great loss of life and injuries to her troops in Europe, North Africa, and the war in the Pacific Islands. Not only was there that immediate loss of our loved ones, but some of the soldiers who returned are still suffering from their physical and psychological wounds. I am sure that during wars throughout this world, no matter what the country, mothers have had the same joys and sorrows, fears and tears as I have. War is hell. Even the winning side loses.